Calamity has many options for difficulty. Some go for expert revengeance, which is the intended difficulty, while most like to play classic. But there is a mode almost no one dares to touch, and in this mode, you don't fight the bosses. You fight for your survival. Against all the odds, progression skipping, and not knowing either the next boss will rip you apart, or rip you apart. I've managed to come this far, but I don't know how much more I can bear this madness. Well, time to find out. Last time, we defeated the Ravager before the mechs, and I'm not fighting it again. I'm just going to use the Alchemist NPC for the treasure bags and get hydrothermic armor. Now, I don't know the power of some of the in-game vanilla bosses will be. Plantera was only the beginning. Frustrated and unable to beat Plantera, I decided to go into the abyss for the Yieldonist. For the Yieldon tablet, which will let me fight the cultists before Plantera. To dive deeper into the abyss, I will need the abyssal diving gear, which is conveniently locked behind Anahita and Leviathan. I was expecting the fight to be impossible, but the thing I did not expect was a Leviathan to not spawn at all. Where did he go? Did Leviathan die of old age? No matter. I dived into the abyss for the Yieldonist, but a colossal squid that had more health than the Ravager decided to intervene. But it was already too late. I had the Yieldon tablet. Trying the cultists before the mechs is something out of the ordinary, but doing it to Master Death will have its consequences. But first, I wanted to try Golem to see how bad his fight will be. So barging through the temple with post-Golem gear, I discovered a mechanic I had no idea of. You can't summon Golem without defeating Plantera. With nothing else to do, I decided to destroy the Destroyer and the twins. Thank goodness I skipped progression. I expected Prime to be a little more difficult than the two. You know, maybe a bullet hell or maybe they regain their arms or something. What I did not expect was the Destroyer and twins to be summoned again. This is literally impossible. This isn't even unique, it's just using two different bosses to help the main boss. I did however defeat Plantera, but at the great cost of my sanity that Golem will take away from me. There is a recurring theme which is difficulty that I like to call the vanilla boss invincibility. That, similar to the name, is a reference to the fact that every vanilla boss is way too overbuffed. Golem and the cultist are no exceptions to this. Golem becomes the Italian plumber, and lunatic cultist, on top of the heavy damage, summons his clones and the ancient vision no matter what. Defeated, I ventured into the dungeon. For something. But at this point, I'm lost. I don't know the path forward. Every boss that's accessible is either too hard or completely insane. But I did win against Prime after some trial and error thanks to a progression jump. And that's all the bosses I could beat. Another cultist attempt later, I tried to fight Golem, and I forgot to bring the power cells to summon him. As if it couldn't get worse. Golem has many problems in this mode, and one of the problems is the attacks seemingly bounce infinitely, and it's hard to see as well. With the miniature suns breaking armor every 3 seconds, this small arena makes it impossible to fight Golem. More cultist attempts later, I start to lose hope. An ancient vision comes along to stop me from fighting the cultist. Maybe it was trying to save me. In an act of desperation, I decided to be an idiot and summon Fishron in my forest arena. And note to self, don't summon bosses outside of the intended biome. Back to suffering against the lunatic. And I had the genius idea of fighting Golem in the forest arena instead of his temple. Again. And Golem enrages when outside of his temple, so fighting in the jungle is pointless. I did expect that Golem will be a little faster, with maybe some damage reduction and damage boost. What I did not expect was for Golem to turn into an Olympic athlete, and start to do long jumps that are basically impossible to avoid. I did not learn from Fishron. Some bosses can be forgotten, like the astral bosses, but they too are impossible. Astromori being a distant cousin of enriched Golem, and Astrodeus is unsurprisingly easy, but the hard part comes each HP being over 1.5 million, and I'm not going to sit here for 6 hours and try to beat it. Back to getting absolutely no progress done. Golem, Cultist, Fishron, you already know the pattern here. I for once used my brain and decided to fight the Empress of Light. And of course, every boss must have an issue. And the issue here is, when the hollow formed, the astral meteor fell directly on top of it, so barely any hollow was left, which forced me to fight the Empress of Light in my forest arena. I don't know if the Empress can enrage, but my weapons didn't even do anything. So I suppose she is enraged. I'm too lazy to check that. More time wasting later, I quit for the day. Now it already has been 3 days of me playing this cursed mode, and all I have done is defeat the big bosses and Plantera. This is not looking good. The next day, I did my research, trying to find a good weapon against the lunatic, and all the good things are locked behind Golem. But one weapon isn't. The Bat Scepter. Harvest Moon is really weak compared to the standards of this mode. I'm not complaining. It's nice not having a bounty on my head for once. I did get the Bat Scepter. And must I tell you, this weapon is my savior. The guiding light in the hours of darkness. It managed to get the lunatic down to his last phase. And with time, his defeat as well. Thank goodness that's over with. Now we can farm the Nebula Pillar for better weapons. And my brilliance cannot be stopped. Out of impatience, I used a Zerg potion. Amazing. After getting better weapons, I thought Golem would be easy. Foolish me. Having some hope? In post-cultist weapons are nothing against Golem. Oh well. The only way forward is by fighting Moonlord. Nebula Pillar was easy. But all the pillars won't be defeated without some deaths. Solar Pillar with my genius idea of using a Zerg potion did end badly. But at least it was over with. Next is the Vortex Pillar. And why can't the enemies make you stuck like this? At least I won't have to fight it again. Right? And my least favorite pillar, the Stardust Pillar. My least favorite simply because the enemies like to hide. And it took me more time to clear the Stardust Pillar than every other pillar combined. It's over. Sort of. I hope Moonlord won't have that vanilla boss invincibility. And I still don't know if it's impossible or not. We can just try again. And why can't I summon him? Apparently, this feature was added in vanilla Terraria, so you can't just skip bosses. You must beat them in order. Similar to how I couldn't summon Golem without defeating Plantera. I must defeat Golem to fight Moonlord. I tried and tried, but it's impossible. Golem is too athletic. I tried to fight him in the temple again, but it's a double-edged sword. If I fight him anywhere else, he gets too athletic. If I fight him in the temple, his fireballs will bounce endlessly. It's truly over. I can't bear to do another lunatic cultist. I have weapons that are meant to be used against Moonlord, but I can't even fight a clay statue. Moonlord is probably the same. I give up. I survived the journey hoping things will get better, but that's not the case. I now understand why almost no one likes to play Master Death. This mode brings nothing more than misery for those who condemn themselves willingly to this hellish task.